When you think of ancient Rome, what comes to mind? Gladiators in the Colosseum, powerful emperors, and legions marching across continents? That's the Rome we see in movies. But what about the real Romans? What was life actually like for the millions of ordinary people who called this vast empire home? Today, we're peeling back the layers of history to uncover the secret lives of everyday Romans. This is Told by Time, and we're going beyond the gladiators. Let's start with the morning rush. Just like us, a Roman's day began early. But forget your quiet cup of coffee. Roman cities were noisy, chaotic places from the crack of dawn. For most, home was a crowded apartment building called an insula. These were often poorly built, cramped, and a constant fire hazard. Your breakfast, or ientaculum, was simple, maybe some bread dipped in wine or olive oil, perhaps with a piece of cheese. No time for a big meal, because work started early. Most Romans were workers, laborers, or shopkeepers. Think of the bustling streets filled with bakeries, butcher shops, and workshops. The air would have been thick with the smells of baking bread, sizzling street food, and less pleasant things from the tanneries and public latrines. If you were a baker, you'd be up before sunrise, grinding grain and firing up the ovens. A blacksmith's hammer would ring out all day, and merchants would shout their prices to passers-by. It was a world of constant hustle, where everyone was trying to make a living. The workday, or dies, usually ended around noon. What did they do with all that free time? Well, lunch, or prandium, was next. This was another light meal, often leftovers from the night before, maybe some fruit or vegetables. You might grab it from a thermopolium, which was basically the ancient Roman equivalent of a fast food joint, serving hot food and drinks to people on the go. After this quick bite, the afternoon was for leisure, and the Romans were masters of leisure. The number one destination? The public baths, or thermae. But these weren't just for getting clean. They were massive social hubs. Imagine a modern community center, spa, and gym all rolled into one. You could exercise, get a massage, swim in pools of varying temperatures, and most importantly, socialize. Business deals were made, gossip was exchanged, and friendships were forged in the steamy halls of the baths. It was the heart of Roman social life, accessible to almost everyone, rich or poor. If the baths weren't your thing, there were plenty of other options. You might head to a local tavern to play board games like Ludus Latrunculorum, a game of military strategy, or roll some dice. Though gambling was technically illegal, everyone did it. You could also take a stroll through the city's beautiful public gardens or visit a library. And of course, there were the spectacles. While the Colosseum and its gladiatorial games are famous, they weren't a daily event. More common were the chariot races at the Circus Maximus. Imagine a stadium holding over 150,000 screaming fans, divided into factions supporting their favorite teams: the Reds, the Whites, the Blues, and the Greens. The passion was intense, much like modern sports rivalries. A victory for your team was a reason for citywide celebration. There were also theatrical performances, though Roman tastes often leaned towards raucous comedies and mimes rather than serious tragedies. As evening approached, it was time for the main meal of the day, the cena. For the wealthy, this could be an extravagant, multi-course banquet lasting for hours, complete with exotic foods, wine, and entertainment. But for the average Roman family, cena was a more modest affair. It was the one time the whole family could gather. The meal might consist of a porridge called pulse, made from grain, along with vegetables like cabbage and lentils, maybe some eggs, cheese, or if you were lucky, a bit of pork. It was a time to connect and share stories from the day. Family, or familia, was the cornerstone of Roman society. But it was different from our modern concept. The head of the household, the paterfamilias, had absolute authority over everyone living under his roof: his wife, his children, his married sons and their families, and any enslaved people. While this sounds strict, day-to-day life was often filled with affection and duty. Women, while not having public political power, were the managers of the household. They were responsible for raising the children, managing the finances, and overseeing the domestic staff. Their role was crucial to the stability of the family and, by extension, the state. Children's lives were a mix of play and preparation. They played with toys we'd recognize today: dolls, balls, toy soldiers, and hoops. Education was not state-funded. If a family could afford it, they'd send their sons, and sometimes daughters, to a private school to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. For most, However, childhood was short, and they were expected to start contributing to the family's work from a young age. Of course, we can't talk about Roman life without acknowledging the reality of slavery. A huge portion of the population was enslaved. Their lives were entirely dependent on the will of their enslavers and could range from brutal hardship in the mines and on farms to positions of great responsibility within a household like being a tutor, a cook, or a financial manager. Some were even able to earn their freedom and become citizens, but their past always marked them. This system underpinned the entire Roman economy and way of life. As night fell, the city changed. With no public street lighting, the streets became dark and dangerous. Most Romans would lock themselves in their homes. For entertainment, they might read by candlelight, tell stories, or simply rest for the next busy day. Life wasn't easy. It was noisy, crowded, and often uncertain. But it was also vibrant, communal, and full of opportunities for social connection and entertainment that might surprise us. So, the next time you picture ancient Rome, look past the emperors and the arenas. Think of the baker pulling bread from a hot oven, the children rolling hoops down a cobblestone street, the friends laughing together in the steam of the baths, and the family gathering for their evening meal. These were the real Romans, the millions of ordinary people whose daily lives, joys, and struggles truly built the empire. Their world was far more complex and, in many ways, far more relatable than the Hollywood epics would have us believe. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of everyday Roman life, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Told by Time for more stories from the past. Let us know in the comments what other aspects of history you'd like us to explore next. See you in the next one.